Most people save all year just to afford a vacation. But for the ultra-rich, they'll spend more than the price of your home on a single breakfast. Yes, one meal worth $1 million. This isn't just food. It's power, prestige, and luxury on a plate. So what does $1 million breakfast actually look like? To understand how someone can casually spend $1 million on breakfast, you first need to step into the rarefied world of the ultra-wealthy. For billionaires, money doesn't mean survival, sacrifice, or even comfort. For them, money is simply a tool, a limitless resource that bends time and reality to their will. What feels life-changing to most of us is barely noticeable to them. Think of it this way. To the average family, a single dollar decides whether to buy bread or not. To a billionaire, $1 million can be the equivalent of a decimal point, forgotten before the table is cleared. That's why the real question isn't, how much does it cost? It's, how rare can this moment feel? Exclusivity and time are their true currencies. They don't purchase meals. They purchase experiences no one else can replicate. From chefs flown across continents to ingredients harvested once a year in one remote corner of the globe, every detail transforms a routine breakfast into a story only a billionaire can tell. Because in their world, breakfast isn't just food. It's a symbol, a quiet declaration whispered across silver platters. I live in a reality where even the ordinary must be extraordinary. So what exactly makes a breakfast worth $1 million? It begins with ingredients so rare, most people will never see them in their lifetime. Picture caviar harvested from albino sturgeon, where a single tin costs more than a family's annual rent. Or saffron threads, the most expensive spice on earth, hand-picked one flower at a time, requiring thousands of blossoms just to create a single ounce. Then there's the white truffle, a fungus more valuable than gold, found for only a few weeks each year in guarded forests of Italy. Each one sells for the price of a new car. Some billionaires don't wait. They charter jets to fly them across the Atlantic overnight just to shave them fresh onto scrambled eggs. But the indulgence doesn't stop at food. The ultra-rich bring in Michelin-starred chefs from Paris, Tokyo, or London. Culinary artists who demand 6 figures for a single morning's work. The setting? Forget the kitchen. Think private yachts anchored off Monaco, or glass dining rooms suspended above the New York skyline at sunrise. Even the presentation itself is part of the luxury. Gold-plated cutlery, crystal flutes, sometimes even diamond-encrusted cups. Vintage champagne poured before the first bite. These aren't accessories, they are the essence. Because here, breakfast isn't about hunger, it's about identity. When the bill arrives, it doesn't read $1 million for eggs and toast. It reads $1 million for a story no one else on earth will ever live. Now let's step into the real world. Because these extravagant breakfasts aren't legends, they exist, quietly, behind velvet doors. In London's Mayfair, where discretion is currency, certain hotels serve mornings that look more like theater than dining. At the Connaught or Claridge's, breakfast isn't plated. It's choreographed. Champagne at 7 a.m., pastries infused with saffron, honey sourced from private country estates. For their most exclusive guests, the bill can climb into 5 figures before the morning paper lands on the table. Across the Atlantic, in New York City, the Plaza Hotel, an icon of old-world wealth, has elevated the humble omelet into a symbol of status. White truffles shaved tableside, beluga caviar spoon delicately on top. One seating can exceed what most families spend on groceries in an entire year. But the true pinnacle lies in bespoke experiences created for the ultra-rich alone. In Manhattan, private dining rooms at Michelin-starred restaurants host one-time-only breakfasts, never to be repeated. In Los Angeles, rooftop terraces greet the sunrise over the Hollywood Hills, with every element, from the flowers to the butter, flown in from a different continent. These aren't items listed on menus, they're whispers among the wealthy. Invitations passed like secrets. Each breakfast designed to blur the line between dining and performance. Because in the world of the ultra-rich, even the first meal of the day isn't about food at all. It's a stage. And money? It's just the ticket to enter. Why would anyone spend $1 million on breakfast? To most people, it sounds outrageous, even offensive. But in the psychology of the ultra-wealthy, it makes perfect sense. Because for them, breakfast isn't about food, it's about meaning. For billionaires, money isn't just currency, it's a language. Every extravagant purchase is a sentence, every indulgence a declaration. And $1 million breakfast speaks volumes. I live in a world where nothing is ordinary. It's not really about eggs or coffee. It's about signaling power, exclusivity, and membership in an elite circle where access itself is the rarest commodity. Then comes the craving for rarity. When you already own the mansions, the yachts, the jets, what's left to desire? Not objects, but experiences no one else can replicate. A saffron croissant baked once in a lifetime. Caviar sourced from a single fish in the Caspian Sea. A dish designed by a Michelin-starred chef, flown in overnight just to serve you, and only you. In their world, uniqueness becomes the ultimate luxury. And perhaps the most important piece? Time. For the ultra-rich, time is more precious than gold. A single breakfast designed to compress joy, prestige, and indulgence into one perfect hour is, in their eyes, efficient. It turns an everyday ritual into a story worth remembering. Psychologists call this conspicuous consumption, spending not only to enjoy but to be seen enjoying. Sometimes the audience is the world, sometimes it's a handful of friends, and sometimes it's just themselves. Because at the core, $1 million breakfast isn't about hunger at all. It's about identity. It's about shaping a story so rare, so untouchable, that it reinforces a truth money loves to tell. I exist on a level you can only imagine. When it comes to luxury breakfasts, two cities dominate the stage: London and New York. These aren't places where mornings begin with a quick coffee or a slice of toast. For the ultra-wealthy, dawn here is about indulgence, savoring flavors so rare they border on myth. In London's Mayfair, mornings unfold like theater. At the Connaught or Claridge's, breakfast isn't served, it's staged. Guests arrive to silver trays, fresh-cut flowers, and wine lists offered not at dinner. But at 7 a.m., eggs are crowned with white truffle shavings. Champagne flows before the morning paper arrives. Even the honey, golden and delicate, is harvested from private rooftop hives belonging only to the hotel. And for those who demand absolute privacy, entire dining rooms are sealed off, making exclusivity part of the menu. Across the Atlantic, New York's Plaza Hotel delivers its own brand of opulence. Beneath glittering chandeliers, coffee is poured from beans once valued more highly than jewels. Omelets arrive topped with beluga caviar, paired with vintage Dom Perignon, transforming what most consider a simple meal into a display of wealth and power. But for Manhattan's elite, the plaza is only the beginning. Behind closed doors, Michelin-starred kitchens craft breakfasts no one else will ever taste again. A rooftop table at sunrise with Central Park stretching below. A bespoke feast prepared mid-flight on a private jet from JFK to London. In these circles, the morning meal becomes both a canvas and a statement. Ordinary rules do not apply here. For the ultra-rich, London and New York aren't just cities. They are stages. Grand theaters where wealth performs its opening act the moment the first plate touches the table. Behind every million-dollar breakfast lies an invisible machine, a global industry designed exclusively for the ultra-rich. Start with the chefs. Not just cooks, but culinary artists with Michelin stars, flown in on private jets from Paris, Tokyo, or Milan. Their fee alone can stretch into 6 figures before a single truffle or caviar tin even arrives in the kitchen. Then come the suppliers, white truffles, unearthed in secret Italian forests and rushed across borders before their fragrance fades. Saffron, harvested from thousands of flowers in the mountains of Iran, packaged with the care of fine jewels. Even the salt sprinkled across an egg may be mined in limited batches from hidden Himalayan caves, reserved only for elite clients. But food is just the beginning. Tableware becomes part of the theater. Crystal glasses costing more than a new car. Knives inlaid with diamonds. Toast served not on porcelain, but on plates crafted by bespoke designers whose work is treated as collectible art. And behind the curtain, an unseen network makes it all possible. Personal assistants coordinating deliveries across time zones. Pilots ensuring chefs land precisely on schedule. Florists importing rare blooms from half a world away. Flowers that may wilt after a single day, but exist purely to frame that one meal. This is the hidden economy of indulgence, a web of artisans, suppliers, and specialists who thrive by turning a simple morning ritual into a declaration of power. For most of us, breakfast is fuel. For billionaires, it's an industry that exists to create the extraordinary every single day. For most people, $1 million is more than money. It's freedom. It's the weight of a mortgage lifted, years of college tuition secured, a retirement finally within reach. For many families in the US and UK, it represents decades of work. And for some, it's a sum they may never see in their lifetime. Now picture this. The ultra-wealthy spend that same million before their first email of the day is even opened, on breakfast. For them, $1 million isn't a dream, it's a detail. To a billionaire worth $10 billion, that figure is the equivalent of someone else dropping a coin on the pavement. Barely noticed, hardly worth turning back for. And yet here's the irony. For most households, breakfast is the cheapest, simplest meal of the day. Cereal, toast, maybe a couple of eggs. For billionaires, it becomes the most expensive, transformed into a stage where wealth is performed, not just consumed. That's the contrast. For the average person, $1 million could mean security for a lifetime. For the ultra-rich, it means a fleeting indulgence, an hour of caviar, champagne, and gold leaf pastries. A memory gone as soon as the last sip of coffee is finished. It's in this gap between survival and spectacle that the true psychology of wealth reveals itself. But not everyone sees $1 million breakfast as glamorous. For many, it's a symbol of something far more troubling. In a world where millions go hungry each day, where families ration bread and water, extravagance on this scale feels almost obscene. How can one morning's indulgence cost as much as feeding an entire village for a year? How can a glass of vintage champagne exist alongside children who have never tasted clean water? Critics argue that these displays of wealth don't just flaunt privilege, they sharpen the divide between rich and poor. A meal that vanishes in an hour carries a price tag that could rewrite someone else's life. And even for the ultra-wealthy, there's a hidden cost. The higher the indulgence, the harder it is to feel satisfied. When every breakfast must outshine the last, luxury becomes a treadmill. Faster, emptier, endless. Today's million-dollar spread becomes tomorrow's ordinary routine. The appetite for excess never truly ends. This is the paradox of extravagance. What looks like freedom can quietly become another cage. A reminder that sometimes too much is its own form of poverty. So what does $1 million breakfast really mean? To the ultra-wealthy, it isn't food, it's theater. A performance of power, a ritual wrapped in rarity, and a way of saying, my mornings are as extraordinary as my fortune. For the rest of us, it feels almost unreal, a glimpse into a world so far removed, it's like peering through glass at another planet. A reminder of how unevenly money shapes our lives, turning a universal ritual, breakfast, into a stage for unimaginable extravagance. The truth is, most of us will never taste beluga caviar on a yacht at sunrise. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the real question isn't about them, it's about us. If you had that kind of wealth, what would you do? Would you chase experiences no one else could have? Or would you use it to rewrite your own story? And maybe even the lives of others? Because in the end, the $1 million breakfast isn't really about what's on the plate, it's about choices. And the question it leaves behind is one only you can answer. What would you do with $1 million before your day even begins?